Hello everybody, welcome back to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and today we're here with the start of a new series on the YouTube channel where we're going to be previewing every single group heading into the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Now, as these things normally start, let's kick things off with Group A. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's kick Group A off with the host nation, Qatar. Now, Qatar will probably be going into the tournament as one of the most unknown quantities because due to the fact that obviously as being the host nation, they didn't need to go through a qualification campaign. This is part of the reason where we don't really know what we're going to expect coming from Qatar. Now, Qatar, this will be their first time on the international stage in recent times. Their first chance to really show just how good they are. And many people are saying the only reason that they would ever qualify for a World Cup is because they're the host. However, when you look at their 2019 Asian Cup campaign and even their 2021 CONCACAF Gold Cup campaign, we have come to see that this Qatari national team is actually a lot better than what many people have expected. Now, the 2019 Asian Cup is one of the main reasons why this team is a little bit of an unknown quantity, a little bit underestimated in a sense, because they actually won the most recent edition of the Asian Cup in 2019, and they won it while beating the likes of South Korea and Japan along the way. Almoez Ali, who is a player we covered in the one key player for every single nation competing at the 2022 FIFA World Cup video. That's on the YouTube channel as well if you want to go back and watch that. But Almoez Ali and Akram Afif are the two players which will be key for Qatar heading into the World Cup. These are the two players who will be both playing up front and will be Qatar's two main goal scorers. Qatar will set up in a 5-3-2 formation. The emphasis on attacking wing backs and a singular deep double pivot to start off most of their attacks. They'll be looking to play direct game style, which likes to sit back, soak up pressure, and then hit teams directly on the counter-attack. They get the ball up to Afif and Ali quickly to try and catch defenders off guard. Defensively, they are very susceptible, and this is part of the reasons why they have gone to that 5 at the back formation to get as many defenders and get as many numbers behind the ball as possible. In their most recent continental tournament, they actually competed in the 2021 CONCACAF Gold Cup. They conceded 3 goals in their opening match to Panama, drawing that game 3-3. However, they rebounded by beating Grenada and Honduras 4-0 and 2-0 respectively. They did go on to concede 2 goals against El Salvador in the round of 16. While they won that game 3-2, they actually fell to the USA in the quarterfinals 1-0. Now, on the surface of things, that is a very good tournament. They took USA to the absolute limit. That wasn't a breeze by any stretch of the imagination in that game. However, conceding 3 goals to Panama, conceding 2 goals to El Salvador, two nations, that won't even be competing at the World Cup. That is something that they will be looking to address. This tournament, they definitely won't be a pushover. Offensively, they can score goals in a hurry and they can score goals very quickly. However, like we just mentioned, defensively they are pretty susceptible, and if they are able to get that defensive side of their game down pat, then that is where they're going to be looking to kind of improve their game and looking to cause some major upsets heading into the home tournament. We've seen what the home tournament factor has done for teams. We saw what it did for Russia 4 years ago. So maybe a similar effect can be given to Qatar, and they can cause a few shocks in Group A as well as later on in the tournament if they can get that far. Let's move on to the second team in Group A, and that is the favourites to get out of the group, Netherlands. Now, Netherlands, despite having not made the World Cup in 2018, they came off 2 very good World Cups previously. They obviously made the final in 2010, losing out to Spain, and made the semi-finals in 2014, getting knocked out by Argentina on penalties in that game. They failed to make the World Cup in 2018 in embarrassing fashion, which we have just mentioned, and that kind of sparked a change in the way that the Netherlands went about things. They qualified in the 2022 Euros and looked to be having a very good tournament. They topped their group, winning all 3 of their group games. However, they did fall at the very next stage to the Czech Republic. Now, when we look at their qualification campaign, they got drawn in a group against Turkey, Norway, a Norway side that including Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard, Montenegro, Latvia, and Gibraltar. They pretty much eased past this group. From their 10 games, they won 7, drew 1, lost 1. Their one game which they lost was actually their first game against Turkey. They lost that 4-0. However, in this qualification campaign, they only conceded 8 goals throughout all 10 matches. Now, this Netherlands side has so many exciting attacking players that can break the tournament apart. You have Cody Gakpo, who's having a fantastic season at PSV Eindhoven. You have Memphis Depay, Steven Bergwijn, Denzel Dumfries on that right-hand side, as well as Frankie de Jong, who we all know is a fantastic player. So, With this rock-solid defence of Virgil van Dijk, Matthijs de Ligt, Julian Timber, as well as Nathaniel Ake, this team is extremely balanced throughout. They'll set up in a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-1-2 system. Their aim is to get the number 10, which will probably be Cody Gakpo, into the game as much as possible. A strong and compact midfield double pivot with marauding fullbacks is the way that this side will be looking to attack. However, with this saying, they have rolled out in a little bit of a 4-3-3 system at times in the qualification campaign. So the Netherlands could roll this out should things get dicey, or should they look to surprise teams and come with something that the opposition won't be expecting. The unpredictability as well as the versatility of this side is something that could take them far in the tournament. However, one thing which the Netherlands will be looking to address is their lack of proper striking talent. Now, apart from Memphis Depay, they do lack true potency up front. They've been floating between Vincent Janssen, Steven Bergwijn, and Wout Weghorst, three players who, granted, are good players in their own right. However, they aren't the elite of the elite strikers which is needed at the World Cup, and that could cost them dearly if they aren't able to get everything together. Despite the balance and the overall talent of this squad, they haven't been able to put it together and become a true force on the international stage just yet. This is the tournament where they could really make their mark. They are by far favourites to get through first in this group. If they are able to do that, they should see them getting a slightly more favourable draw heading into the round of 16 and heading into the quarterfinals. So this is a tournament where the Netherlands could really shock a few, or maybe not shock a few people, but could finally live up to the expectations that we've had on them ever since 2010, ever since 2014, which they haven't really been able to back up in a sense. Obviously, without qualifying in 2018, some of these players, including Virgil van Dijk, this will be their first World Cup, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle the pressure. However, they got through in a breeze in their European Championship group. They should probably do the same in Qatar, and they should avenge that loss against Czech Republic in the round of 16 last year and really kick on and really prove themselves to be one of the best international teams in the tournament, and we'll see them having a very, very good team, a very good core group of players that can see them having success in the near future, no doubt. So let's move on to the third team in Group A, and that is Senegal. Now, Senegal are potentially one of the most exciting teams heading into the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Now, when we look at their qualification campaign, they actually finished first in their group alongside Togo, Namibia, and Congo. From those 6 games, they won 5, drew 1, and lost 9 with a plus 11 goal difference, having scored 15 goals and only conceded 4. Now, the way the African World Cup qualification system works is that every team that finishes top of their respective group actually goes through to a random qualifying, like a third round qualifying draw. In that, they actually versed the team that they beat in the African Cup of Nations final earlier in 2022, that was Egypt. Now, across those 2 legs, they lost the first leg 1-0 with a 4th minute own goal. However, they did win the second leg 1-0, which took the game to extra time, and then from extra time they went to penalties, and Senegal did go through on penalties despite having missed the first 2 spot kicks. Now, with this, they have been given a massive boost of confidence and a massive boost of energy from this. They've shown that they're able to beat Egypt, who did qualify for the World Cup 4 years ago and have the likes of Mohamed Salah, I should say, which can cause an upset and can cause a shock on any given day. Now, throughout the tournament, when we're talking to the African Cup of Nations, they topped the group with 5 points before beating Cape Verde, Equatorial Guinea, Burkina Faso, and then Egypt in the final, I should say. They like I said, they won 5. They got 5 points, so they won one of the games and drew 2 in the group stage. However, throughout this tournament, Senegal played a high-paced, exciting, high-tempo style of football. The direct ball movement that was reliant on pace and aggressive, high-tempo movement. This direct style of football is something which they will definitely translate heading into the World Cup. Now, obviously, Sadio Mane is such an important player to their attacking system, playing pretty much anywhere that they need him to play, whether that's on the left-hand side where he's most natural, up front where he's slowly starting to adopt that style of play for Bayern Munich as well for Liverpool in the back end of last season, or even on the right-hand side should things become absolutely dire in terms of the injuries or form issues. Cheku Kouyaté, Nampalys Mendy, and Idrissa Gana Gueye, those 3 in midfield are so crucial to the way that Senegal play. It's extremely physical and can run out games for fun. All 3 can defend and attack. All 3 are basically 3 box-to-box midfielders in a sense. And while it isn't the most technically gifted midfield, they can get on top of any midfield and they can run a game and really dominate proceedings if they're able to get a full foothold into the game. If you give them each an inch, they'll take a mile. That's because of just how much they want to dominate play. Their kind of modus operandi in a sense is to get very aggressive, get very physical, become aggressive in defense and aggressive in attack. Despite the fact that they don't have a natural playmaker in that side, the way that they play kind of suits that midfield because it's very high tempo, very aggressive. They don't need to rely on possession, and because of those three midfielders aren't the most technically gifted midfielders in the world, this high tempo, high energy, direct style of football allows that midfield to just focus on the physicality and the defensive side of the game a little bit more. The midfield three like to move in a very compact way laterally as well as up and down the pitch. They like to stick together, stick very close, and this allows them to get on top of pretty much any midfielder that they can come across. Maintaining the width through the fullbacks in the wide areas allows the likes of Sadio Mane to come into more influential and creative areas, and this just gives him the chance to dominate most games and get on the score sheet and become very creative in the right areas. They're probably going to be second favourites to get out of the group, and it probably wouldn't shock me if they were able to overthrow Netherlands and get through first in the group, just because of how much quality they've got with Sadio Mane, Ismail Assar, as well as the two players, as well as that very solid and compact midfield three. Now, what we're going to see with Senegal is, despite the fact that they haven't really proven just how good they are on the international stage just yet, they're coming off the back of a very good qualification campaign. They're coming off the back of a very good African Cup of Nations, so they could really shock everyone and really prove themselves to be one of the best African nations at Qatar. So let's move on to the final team in Group A, and that is Ecuador. Now, with Ecuador, you have a very young and exciting team that is led by some very young and exciting players. Now, when we look at their World Cup qualification campaign, they obviously are drawn in that very, very tough South American draw. Venezuela, Bolivia, Paraguay, Chile, and Colombia all missed out. Peru finished in 5th place going into the intercontinental playoff, and then Ecuador managed to qualify automatically 2 points ahead of Chile in 4th place. Now, they actually, from their 18 games, they won 7, drew 5, and lost 6. However, they finished with a +8 goal difference. That is actually 8 more than Uruguay, who finished 1 place ahead of them, and that is 11 more than Peru, who finished in 1 place below them. Now, this Ecuadorian team is, like I said, very young, and they're heading into a little bit of a golden generation in a sense. However, when you look at their World Cup history, it actually varies. Now, they need to buck a trend of only group stage appearances, only group stage exits, barring their appearance in 2006. They didn't qualify for the tournament last time around in 2014, and they didn't qualify for the tournament last time in 2018, I should say. However, 4 years previous to that in 2014, they managed 4 points and beating Honduras in their group. Despite this, they did exit at the group stage. Their latest continental tournament didn't really go the way that they wanted. They qualified from the Copa America group despite not winning a game, and then they felt the very next stage to Brazil, who ended up reaching the final of that tournament. They lost that game 3-0. In the following of the Copa America, Ecuador changed the way they played football ever so slightly. They've started to become a little bit more defensively solid, and have focused on that area of the game a lot more. As you can tell, this has translated very well into their World Cup qualification, having conceded only 19 goals, which, like I said, led them to having that +8 goal difference, which was 8 more than Uruguay, despite Uruguay finishing above them. Two main players for Ecuador actually both play at the same side. That is Brighton, Moises Caicedo, and Purvis Estepanian, two players who will be very integral to this Ecuadorian team. Estepanian is a very aggressive fullback that acts as one of Ecuador's main offensive threats. The talent that he possesses allows him to be pretty much the main attacking talent for the team, alongside Enner Valencia, who has been a stalwart of this Ecuadorian team for quite a while. Ecuador can float between a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3 depending on the opposition and on the occasion. With his versatility that they have in their squad, and with the players that are all very physically very capable and technically very capable to a certain extent, they can float between these formations very well. They do have the basics down pat, and when you have a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3, two systems which are built on very similar principles of tight midfields and aggressive wing backs and etc. These two systems are very similar to each other. They can float between them and really become a real unpredictable team in a sense. Despite them probably being the least favourite to get out of the group, everyone from South America obviously has to go through a very, very hard qualification draw, so they have the experience of playing against the world's best teams pretty much every single international break. So Ecuador, despite them not having a storied World Cup past, and despite them not having the best qualification campaign or even their most recent continental tournament, they could cause a few shocks in Group A. And despite, like I said, them being the least favourite to get out of the group, they could cause some shocks, get out of the group, and maybe even shock the world and get through further than that if they're able to get through the group They can beat Netherlands. They can beat Senegal. These teams that Ecuador will be coming up against they won't be intimidated by these teams because of the reasons which I've just stated, which is that they are versing Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Peru. These very physical, very intimidating sides pretty much every single time that they have an international break. So Ecuador, despite being the least favourite to get out of the group in Group A, could be a team that could shock a few and potentially even come second in that group if things fall their way. So yes, thank you all very much for watching the first episode of this series, and that is where we were previewing Group A heading into the FIFA 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you leave your predictions in the comment section below as well. Who do you think will finish first, second, third, and fourth in this group? Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. See you guys next time, and goodbye.